Hello, welcome back to Football-Oranje, your home of Dutch football. I'm Michael Statham, and we are previewing the World Cup now. We're full into the thick of it. The first game for the Netherlands is against Senegal. I have here Babatunde, who's a football journalist. Who are you, and what do you know about Senegal?
Hi, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be on this podcast. My name is Babatunde Koiki. I'm a sports journalist based in Lagos, Nigeria, currently traveling in Glasgow currently. And I'm a huge fan of African football. I know quite a fair bit of my own have a fair bit of knowledge about African football. And for Senegal, let me just say that they're Africa's favorites going into this World Cup.
So the Netherlands are in the Group A with Senegal, Qatar, and Ecuador. And I think we're both sat here feeling a bit confident. Oh, we'll be the top two. We'll be fine. What's the general feeling with Senegal looking at the opponents in the group, and how are you viewing the Netherlands?
Well, for Senegal, they believe that they've been given a very, very kind draw. The Netherlands, Qatar, and of course Ecuador, they believe that they are more than capable of handling all three teams. And as far as Senegal are concerned, they are confident that they can get either one of the first two places in that group. And as for the Netherlands, they are coming off a period whereby they've been terribly disappointing. They didn't qualify for the last Euros, haven't done well internationally for a long while. They didn't even qualify for the last FIFA World Cup. So they believe, in Senegal, they believe that this Dutch team is not as formidable as the Dutch teams of the past. Even usually in the forward lines, you have likes of Patrick Kluivert, Ruud van Nistelrooy, but now they have to depend on the talents of lesser-known players like Steven Bergwijn and Memphis Depay. They don't seem to be like the formidable Oranje of old. I'm having goosebumps just remembering the very talented Dutch teams that we've seen in the past. And for Senegal, they believe that this generation, this iteration of the Dutch national team is pretty much within their grasp to be able to handle. But that is as far as Senegal is concerned. But those who have watched international football over the last 2 years will say that with the return of Louis van Gaal, there's some steel has been added into the Dutch national team. In the past, they seemed like a bit of a soft touch, easy to roll over. But with the Louis van Gaal's discipline, tactical news, they navigated a difficult qualifying series. They haven't done too badly in the UEFA Nations League so far. So they seem to be a much, much stronger prospect than they used to be in the past. Not flashy, not too many big names, but what they rely on is, what the Dutch have always relied on is the sum of the parts being greater than any single item or any single part.
Really interesting thoughts from the Dutch there, because I'd say that going into this tournament, teams like Senegal, who you'd say were just below what the Netherlands are doing right now, but also you've got Brazil and France, who are just above where the Netherlands are right now. I think it's going to lead to a lot of really close games. I can really see teams like Senegal having a good chance against Dutch, but there will be just enough chances to edge out the game, or perhaps a draw, which isn't the worst thing for the Dutch if they can beat Ecuador and Qatar. But it also means in those games against perhaps Argentina, who they could meet in the quarterfinal, they could have a good chance against them too, because they can keep the game tight. The 3-5-2 that Louis van Gaal was kind of crafted since Frank de Boer ruined their chances at the Euros with the same formation. Van Gaal went back to a 4-3-3, realised actually that the 3-5-2 wasn't a bad idea if there was actually a decent coach that was in charge of it. Now there is Van Gaal's third time in charge. It's potentially his last thing he'll be doing in management. Can he ride off into the sunset with the World Cup? I think there's a bit of, you said about goosebumps thinking about the past. I think a lot of Dutch fans have got goosebumps thinking right now that they are perhaps the dark horses. Maybe it's just blind optimism because the World Cup's a week away at the time of recording. Or actually there's a genuine chance that they can do it with good team spirit.
I want to agree with you, Michael, when you said they are the dark horses. Traditionally, the Dutch national team have always played a 4-3-3. It's virtually been the DNA of the team ever since the Johan Cruyff era. So for them to craft a 3-5-2, which they've employed with tremendous success over the last 2 years, has been, I'm almost wanting to say revolutionary, but it's a major departure from the past. And the interesting thing about it is that they have the tools to be able to play it and deploy it effectively. Julian Timber, De Ligt, and also Van Dijk in defense, and also Denzel Dumfries as the wing back is arguably one of the finest right-sided players in world football today. And that's a real revolutionary, do I say, formation from the Dutch. They've always traditionally played 4-3-3. Even Dutch club sides also always play 4-3-3 as well. So this has been a major departure from the past. Louis van Gaal also made his name with Ajax playing in 4-3-3, also at the Barcelona as well. So seeing him employ a 3-5-2, it's mind-blowing. But the fact is that they have done it very, very well, for the very simple reason that they do have players who are capable of fitting into that formation brilliantly. Then there's also the fact that, interestingly, Senegal themselves also play a variant of the 4-3-3 as well. But sometimes it metamorphoses into a 4-2-3-1. But it's a formation that Aliou Cisse has tried many times and trusts, especially very well. When you have the likes of Idrissa Gueye, Nampalys Mendy, Papa Matar Sarr, who can play quite tenaciously in that midfield. Up front, they have Sadio Mane, Boulaye Dia, Ismail Assar, a really strong trident that swept the whole of Africa ahead of them when they won the Africa Cup of Nations early this year. So it promises to be very, very good. Then don't forget the fact that this is the first time that we're having a World Cup that is right smack in the middle of the season. Every single player, every single team that is going to this competition has players who have played at least 14, 15 competitive games. As in the past, when the World Cup was held at the end of the season, players have been severely burnt out. And so basically all these teams are going into the World Cup at the peak of their powers. So you're right, we will see some very competitive, very close games. And if the Netherlands can't just find that rhythm, it's all about rhythm, getting into stride. And if they can't find that rhythm, I agree, they could be dark horses, because like I said earlier on, every team is particularly at its peak form of fitness going into the World Cup.
Yeah, a really good assessment there of the teams that are coming into this. Netherlands Senegal is going to be the biggest game of this group. And we could be without 2-star players on the pitch. The news going into this, the World Cup squad was announced for the Dutch. There were a few kind of surprise omissions, but on the whole was quite expected with the players announced. You mentioned the defenders there, Babatunde. The defenders are the strongest point of this team. There's a lot of centre-backs in there, which allows them to play a system. Dumfries on the right, Van Dijk in the middle. It's probably going to be Nathan Ake playing next to him. Perhaps Jurgen Timber, if Van Gaal can get some good form out of Timber, because at Ajax he's lost a bit of it under Alfred Schroeder. But the left wing back is where the issue could be. Daley Blind has been much criticised by Ajax fans, less so by Netherlands fans, but he's still picked out quite often for his flaws. And if you've got Sadio Mane running at him, you could have problems. However, Memphis Depay might not be playing for the Dutch. If he does, he's going to be playing half an hour max. And it will be Vincent Janssen starting up top, according to Van Gaal. And does Sadio Mane play? Is he going to be fit in time to play the whole match, or maybe some of it, or none of it? Could you tell us a bit more?
So when Sadio Mane had that injury in that 6-1 win by Bayern Munich, I think over Werder Bremen, the whole of Africa, not only Senegal, I can tell you in fact, the whole of Africa basically put their hands on their head they were aghast, because this is, and that's a really typical African gesture of calamity and catastrophe. This is Africa's reigning football of the year, 2-time African football of the year, one of the finest players to come out of the continent, arguably the greatest Senegalese player ever. And now there was a danger that he might be missing the World Cup just days before the kickoff. So you can imagine the consternation from Cape Town to Cairo, from Dakar to Dar es Salaam. Nobody was happy. And immediately, I'm aware of the fact that the Senegalese national team dispatched their doctor to Munich to have a first-hand assessment. And the news we heard was the fact that he will not require surgery, but will require a course of treatment. Now, how fit he will be before that opening game, I can't say. But there is a strong belief in Africa and Senegalese football in particular that a half-fit Sadio Mane is better than no Sadio Mane. Look, if they have to strap him with every form of bandage you can think of, and every form of painkillers they can find, that is exactly what they will do. Because no, it's not really only about his talents; it's about what he represents. The fight, the tenacity, the skill, the hunger of Africa and Senegal wanting to do what has never been done, which is to go beyond the quarterfinals. Very few teams have ever done that. And one of those teams was this Senegalese national team, who did so very, very gloriously in 2002 on their debut, and who are led, the coach of that team, of this current Senegalese national team, was a key member and captain of the same team that reached the quarterfinals in 2002. So there's so many stories interwoven into this. And I can tell you as a matter of fact that Sadio Mane is central to those stories. And they will do anything and everything possible to ensure that he's on the pitch against the Netherlands. If not, maybe against Ecuador and Qatar, but they will do their best to make sure that he's ready on the opening night. And
that's fascinating. Memphis is a very similar kind of player for the Dutch, where he's so integral to what they can do. Top. There are a few people that don't like him in the Dutch team, and I'm like, what? He's going to become the record top goal scorer. Could even do it in the World Cup if he scores 8 goals. I think it is. But he could be World Cup final. He scores 8 goals.
Memphis Depay is how do I describe him? He's a maverick, and he's incredibly frustrating. You can see exactly. Yeah, you can see exactly just how much potential that he possesses.
Yeah.
But for some strange reason, he has never really reached the heights that everyone knows that he's capable of. And it all started when he was at Manchester United. He seemed more about that life off the pitch than on the pitch. And that is that's this difference between good players and great players. That dedication to your craft, that discipline off the pitch, not necessarily on the pitch, but off the pitch, the lifestyle, recovery, nutrition, sleeping well, attention to detail. Those are the things that stand you out from the herd. And I'm sure you've heard stories of how the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi put in tremendous hours and grind to ensure that they hone their craft. And that is why at the advanced age of 37, I mean, someone like Ronaldo could still be playing for a big club like Manchester United. But can you say the same that Memphis Depay will still be playing football at the age of 37? I doubt it very much. But the talent is there, is undeniable. But that lack of consistency, that lack of that inability to be the key go-to man in crucial games, when that all it needs, that small spark, that small piece of ingenuity that could be the difference between success and failure. He possesses it, but he doesn't deliver it on a regular basis. And I think that is what has really stalled his career.
Certainly not on a club level. International level, he just seems a different animal. And it makes you wonder, when you see him play like that, you think, why isn't he playing for Barcelona? Why didn't he get a move to play and to score loads of goals? Those points you raise there, that they are valid points why that might be. But when he plays for the Netherlands, I think he will be that person who has that passion,
he's
that
a clutch
craft.
player.
He leads people. Yeah. And Van Gaal gets the best out of him. Let's not forget that. Van Gaal is an excellent coach. He does some strange things sometimes, but you have to believe in him, because when you do, it gets results. 15 games unbeaten coming into this, unbeaten since the Euros, best team in the Nations League. So this is where their confidence comes from. But I want to get from you, Babatunde, with the 3-5-2 the Netherlands have, perhaps without Mane, perhaps without Depay on the pitch, could this be a low-scoring game?
I think there's still enough on the pitch for both teams to ensure that they'll go for it. You know, I think ever since Senegal became African champions, they have basically thrown off the garb of an also-ran team, underachieving team. They now have actually come into their own as African champions, and deservedly so. They've come close a few times in the past, but finally they've shown basically Africa and the rest of the world that they can, dominate the African continent, and that is what they've been trying to do over the past, ever since they were crowned as African champions. And they go into this competition not as underdogs and not as with a huge target on their back. They are African champions. They're a big scalp for any team. And they will be a big scalp for the likes of the Netherlands, Qatar, and Ecuador. Because if you can start the tournament with the scalp of the African champions, it says something. Because Africa is not an easy place to dominate, and Senegal did that in quite great fashion at the Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon. So with the 3-5-2, this Dutch national team have shown exactly what Louis van Gaal always requires of them: consistency, tenacity, and incisiveness. They might not be pretty to look at, but they know exactly when to peak within games and how to basically pace themselves to ensure that over the course of 90 minutes, they can extricate the best out of themselves and basically see out games. If they do get, it might on paper, it might look like a low scoring game, but I think it will be hammer and tongs. Personally, I think you will see a minimum of 2 goals. It might end in a 1-1 draw. It might end in a 2-2 draw. But I can tell you, as a matter of fact, in my personal opinion, I don't think we'll see anything less than 2 goals. Because, for one, this Dutch national team, they know how to respond. If they go behind, they will come back at you. And they will always look for a way to finish, to see out the game. And this Senegalese national team, because of the fact that they're African champions, they will want to. The Dutch national team is always one of the biggest clubs in world football. Beating them basically confers a mantra on you. It also confers some kind of status on you as well. So both teams won't back down. I know this for a fact. So it's not going to be a low-scoring game. Minimum 2 goals, in my opinion.
Sure. I myself might go for a 1-1 draw. I think it will be an okay start to the World Cup, but I think until Depay's back fit, I think we'll see the magic.
It will be.
I just want to involve people that are watching this, by the way. If you're enjoying this, do give it a like. If you enjoy what we're doing, Football-Oranje, make sure you subscribe if you aren't already. And comment below what you think will happen in this game. What are your predictions for Netherlands versus Senegal? Babatunde, before we go, I want to get your prediction for the group as to how many points you think Senegal will get. What do you think will be the results? And obviously, very difficult to predict. But I'd like to know what you think it will be and how far you think Senegal will go, looking ahead to who you think might come up in the round of 16, quarterfinals, etc.
Well, it's a tough group. Despite what a lot of people might think, the Dutch are always favorites at any tournament they walk into. Always favorites. Maybe they're high favorites or mid favorites or low favorites, but always favorites. Senegal also coming to this competition with the confidence of being African champions as well. Qatar also have huge aspirations besides also being hosts as well. Ecuador, South American teams, always slick, always dangerous, always talented. And remember, they had to fight very hard to maintain their status as the World Cup team after 2 teams actually petitioned FIFA to get them thrown out for using an eligible player. You recall that. So they will also want to show the fact that they deserve to be there. So it's going to be a tight group. It's going to be a very, very, very tight group. I wouldn't write off Qatar. They performed admirably well when they played at as an invitational team to the CONMEBOL, the South American Championships a few years ago. They did very, very well. Of course, the Dutch are always good as well. Senegal, talented as well. Ecuador, really good South American team. I'm hoping, personally, I don't think Senegal can win this group, but I think they might get 6 points. I think they might get 6 points. Maximum, they might get 7, but 6 points, I think, will be enough to take them out of this group. Anything after that, it's up in the air. Yeah,
really tricky to see what happens out of Group B. England, USA, Wales, and Iran, because anyone could finish second if England do well. And if England don't do well, who's finishing first and second out of that group?
Exactly.
So difficult. However, I have a feeling it might be Netherlands, USA in the round of 16, but we'll see.
That'll be interesting. That'll be very, very interesting.
Well, Babatunde, thanks very much for joining me on Football-Oranje, and of course, thanks everyone for watching. Same again, like, subscribe, and comment down below what you think will happen in this match. Lastly, do you want to just quickly share where we can find you?
Oh yeah, sure. You can find me mostly on Twitter, stirring up trouble at Babatunde Koiki. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you very much for having me, Mike. It's been very enjoyable, very, very entertaining Sunday morning. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for watching. More to come for Football-Oranje very soon on our YouTube.